stream here for Boise State and South Florida. I apologize. I had to pause that there at halftime. I had a couple of things I had to take care of, but all good now as we're getting ready to start the second half. South Florida leading Boise State here 10-7. Let's run down some of the stats for you from the first half. In this game, Boise State, 183 yards of offense compared to South Florida's 128. 13 first downs for Boise State compared to 6 for South Florida. Run down some individual numbers for you in the first half. Boise State quarterback Maddox Madsen, 15 of 23, 122 yards in that first half, 1 touchdown. Leading rusher for Boise State, it's Cyrus Gaines, 8 carries, 41 yards in the first half. Malik Sherrod has carried 7 times for 18 yards. Dylan Riley has rushed 1 time, and Maddox Madsen, the quarterbacks, rushed 3 times for 2 yards for a total of 61 yards rushing in the first half. Receiving-wise, leading receivers Malik Sherrod, 3 receptions, 6 yards. For Boise State, couple receptions for Ben Ford for 31 yards. Latrell Caples has 2 receptions for 27 yards. Chris Marshall, 2 receptions, 19 yards, and he caught the touchdown pass in the first half. And Gaines with 2 receptions for 11 yards, a reception each for Matt Lauder, Matt Wagner, Cameron Bates, and Quentin Brown. 9 different receivers catching balls in that first half for South Florida, or for Boise State. Meanwhile, for South Florida, Byron Brown, 8 of 14 passing, 105 yards in the first half. He's also rushed 9 times for 23 yards and a touchdown. South Florida as a whole has only rushed for 23 yards in the first half. They have 5 different players that have caught a reception. Keshawn Singleton, 3 catches for 40 yards. Chaz Nimrod, 2 catches for 41 yards, and then a catch each for Alvin Isaac, Joshua Porter, and Mudia Rubin. And that's how we've gotten to the 10-7 score. Or that's what 10-7 is our score. How we've gotten to that score in the first half. Boise State struck first, getting the touchdown pass from Madsen. Madsen to Marshall, and that gave Boise State a 7-0 lead. South Florida answered with a field goal on their next drive to make it 7-3. And then Byron Brown, a rushing touchdown for South Florida there late in the second quarter to put them up 10-7, which is where we stand right now as we get ready to start the second half of play between Boise State and South Florida. Run down a couple of scores from college football before we begin the second half. A couple of other scores from college football. Rutgers has pulled away a little bit from Ohio, as Rutgers now leads that game 31-14. Ohio is inside the 10-yard line of Rutgers, however, with a minute to play in the second quarter. NC State, a 3-0 lead over East Carolina. UCF and Jacksonville State scoreless towards the end of the first quarter. Delaware State, no score. 3 minutes to play in the first quarter there. Wyoming and Akron scoreless. 2.5 to go in the first quarter. And a couple of FBS, FCS matchups. Bowling Green leading Lafayette 10-0. And Louisiana Monroe and St. Francis currently in a weather delay. And about to kick off in Columbia, Missouri and Central Arkansas, as well as Duke against Elon. There's a couple of FBS, FCS matchups. Oklahoma State, Tennessee Martin as well getting ready to kick off. At the top of the hour, they're going to kick off in Minneapolis between Minnesota and Buffalo, as well as getting ready to kick off at the top of the hour in Houston between Houston and Stephen F. Austin. Again, another featured game coming up at 9 o'clock Eastern, about an hour and a half from now. Nebraska and Cincinnati. That game will be in Kansas City as Nebraska looks for back-to-back winning seasons. Nebraska coming off their first winning season since 2016. Also, 9 o'clock Eastern, another Big Ten team in action, Wisconsin. They will host Miami of Ohio. Couple of the other games going on across the country tonight on this first full weekend of college football. Got some more games tomorrow and a slew of games coming up on Saturday. 3 matchups involving top 10 teams playing each other. Of course, the big one, Texas and Ohio State in Columbus. Another top 10 matchup on Saturday is in Death Valley. Clemson will be hosting LSU. That's number 4 against number 9. And then on Sunday, a top 10 matchup in Miami. Notre Dame traveling down to Florida to take on Miami. And then, of course, on Monday, to wrap up the college football weekend, Labor Day night, Bill Belichick will make his head coaching debut for North Carolina as they will play TCU. So that's a bit of the college football games to watch for this coming weekend. And as I mentioned in the first half, I will be on with a live stream 2 games for you on Saturday. Hopefully, the Texas-Ohio State game. I'm planning on being on for a live stream, and then I'll be on for an FCS game on Saturday night, a top 15 matchup in FCS. Sacramento State and South Dakota State will be the FCS game on my live stream on Saturday night. Here we're set to begin the second half. South Florida leading Boise State 10-7. South Florida will be receiving the football to start the second half. And Boise State, boy, they've had some chance. They've shot themselves in the foot a couple times in the first half. Some bad penalties and those 2 fumbles they lost in that first half. And South Florida has given themselves a 10-7 lead as we are set to begin the second half. South Florida starting the season. This is the first of 3 consecutive ranked opponents South Florida will be playing to start the season. Boise State tonight. Next Saturday, they travel to Gainesville to take on the Gators. And then the following week, Saturday, they will take on the Miami Hurricanes. So 3 consecutive ranked teams on South Florida's schedule to begin the season, and they've taken the lead through 30 minutes in this one, as they try and hold on for another 30 minutes and get the opening game upset over Boise State. And here's the kickoff, and we're underway in the second half. And this will be a touchback, so South Florida will get the ball at the 25-yard line. So we will back to see Byron Brown and the South Florida offense, as they will begin this first drive of the third quarter, 1st and 10 from the 25. Brown out of the gun. Brown looking and has his man. That pass is caught and out of bounds at the 32-yard line. Reception made there for South Florida. Gain of 7 on first down. And a quick snap on second down and a gain of 2 more. As Brown on the keeper is going to be a yard shy of the first down. It's going to be 3rd and a yard. That previous reception was Weston Wolf making the reception for South Florida. This is going to be a first down run for Norton for South Florida. On 3rd and 1, he picks up 2, and the Bulls will move the chains. Boise State players slow getting up here. Marco Notaran, I hope I get this last name right. Notaranini, the Boise State player shaken up on the play. Senior out of San Diego. As they have got Notaranini as he is now sitting up. As we have a stoppage here with 14-13 to play in quarter number 3. as Notara Anini. Good to see him get up under his own power and walk to the Boise State sideline. So South Florida, as we resume here, first down. As Notara Anini walks into the tent. First down at the 36 for the Bulls. Opening possession, third quarter. Brown fakes the handoff. Brown looking downfield. Now will take it himself and lose a yard on first down. Brown was looking downfield. Didn't look like he had anywhere to go and kept it himself and got what he could. End up losing a yard at 2nd and 11. Brown the handoff this time to Norton again, and Norton will get up to the 37-yard line, gain of 3. It'll bring up a 3rd and long for South Florida. Third down and 9. Brand, we've got flags all over the place. Brown pleading his case. I think they're going to call a false start on South Florida, but Brown pleading his case that they were drawn, and he's not going to get the call. It's going to be a false start. Cole Best jumping a little quick there for South Florida. So that will make it 3rd down and 14 now for South Florida at their own 32. Opening possession, third quarter. Brown out of the shotgun. There's the snap to Brown. Brown looking and throws to his man. That's caught, but this is going to be well short of a first down. On 3rd and 14, the catch to Singleton. Singleton gets 9, but the Bulls are still 5 yards short of a first down. We got some extracurricular activities here following the reception from Singleton. South Florida is going to have to punt this football away to begin the second half. Chase Leon on to punt for the Bulls. Leon gets it away. Sherrod with a fair catch, and it's made at the 10-yard line. So Boise State backed up for their first possession of the second half. So back comes Madsen and the Boise State offense out, as we will see them for the first time here in the second half. From the 10-yard line, first down. Madsen gives it off to Sherrod. Sherrod nowhere to go, and he's going to lose 3 yards on first down. Sherrod had nowhere to go. Duclona in on that first down loss for South Florida. Loss of 3. Second down and 13 for Boise State. Ball inside the 10-yard line. Madsen in trouble, and they're going to get him. Back at the 2-yard line, a sack. See who that was that got the sack for South Florida? It's Rico Watson III on the sack for South Florida, and it's going to be 3rd and long for Boise State. Third and 17, ball spotted at the 3-yard line. Boise State would like to get something there. They're not going to give the punter any room, and this play clock's going to run out. So it's going to move it back even further to the 1.5-yard line on the delay of game. And I think the South Florida crowd had something to do with that. 3rd down and 18 from inside the 2. And the crowd, if they weren't loud before, they sure are now. Madsen from his end zone throws it down the field, out of bounds, incomplete. And Boise State is going to have to punt this ball from very deep in their end zone. They're not even going to get the full length from the snapper to the punter. Boyle has got to be careful that he does not have the back of his foot step out of bounds, because he is right on that end line in the end zone. And Doyle just gets it out of there. Pretty good punt considering. And it's going to take a nice Boise State roll and roll out of bounds at the 49-yard line. That is an excellent punt from Doyle considering the circumstances. But South Florida still going to have excellent field position as they will start at the Boise State 49. 9:53 to go in the third. It is still South Florida leading Boise State 10-7. As this South Florida defense has done a whale of a job on this Boise State offense. And Boise State looks like they got a little rattled on that last drive. And they have given South Florida excellent field position here as they will start on Boise State's side of the 50. Update you on some of those other college football scores. Ohio did get a field goal, so Rutgers leads that game 31-17. That's at the half. NC State's jumped out to a 10-0 lead over East Carolina. And Missouri has gotten in the end zone against Central Arkansas. That game's 7-0. And Oklahoma State, 7-0 lead over Tennessee Martin. A couple of those updated scores around college football. And meanwhile here, when we resume out of the timeout, South Florida will have their second possession of the second half. And this one will start in Boise State territory at the Boise State 49-yard line. So South Florida, if this is the team we see South Florida put on the field all year long, they may be a factor in the American Athletic Conference this year. As they will start as Byron Brown and the South Florida offense will come back out, leading this game 10-7, 5 minutes old here in the third quarter. As we are just about set to resume action here in Tampa. Again, don't forget, my live streams will continue on Saturday with a couple college football games. FBS and one FBS and one FCS matchup every Saturday for you here on my live stream channel. The student section is rocking in Tampa. The South Florida student section. So here we go. Set to resume here with 9:54 to go in the third. 9:53 to go in the third. South Florida ball at the Boise State 49. First down and 10. Brown out of the shotgun. And now getting another play called. Play clock down to 7. Get the snap off. Brown looking down the field. Pass is incomplete. Nimrod, the intended receiver on that one, was a little behind him, and it's 2nd and 10. South Florida going with the all-black uniforms tonight. Here's a second down run, and this is going nowhere. Maybe getting a yard out of it was Sam Franklin. And they do give him a yard, but it's going to be 3rd and long for South Florida. Third down and 9. Ball from the 48-yard line of Boise State. Out of the gun. And the pass is going to be caught, but well short of the first downs. That's only going to be a 3-yard pickup. And despite getting excellent starting field position, well, South Florida still keeping the offense out there. They did go for it inside their own 40-yard line in the first quarter. Did not get it, and now they're going to bring the punt team on. That ensuing drive is where Boise State scored their touchdown, having the short field. This is probably the correct decision here to punt this ball away, try to pin Boise State back. Oh, it's a fake going down the field. Wide open, man. It's a fake punt and a touchdown, South Florida. A fake punt for a touchdown. How about that trickery? Singleton on the touchdown reception. 45 yards on the fake punt, and it's 16-7 Bulls. Wow. And looking back on it, that was the perfect place on the field to try that. And it was executed to perfection. Wow, wow, wow. That was an absolute dart of a pass. Extra point attempt coming. Extra point by Grammatica is up and good, and that makes it a 10-point lead for South Florida over Boise State on a fake punt, a 45-yard touchdown. Keyshawn Singleton receiving the touchdown pass. $17-7 Bulls over the Broncos. Wow. So how will Boise State be able to answer now as they got beat with some trickery from South Florida? And now Boise State finds themselves in a 10-point hole. Lachlan Hewlett the one that executed that fake punt pass to Singleton. 17-7 our score. NC State has built a 17-0 lead on East Carolina. That game, 11 minutes to go in the second quarter. I said Missouri 7-0 over Central Arkansas. It's actually 6-0. Missouri missed the extra point, so that's a 6-0 lead for Missouri in that one. Still Oklahoma State leading 7-0, just about to kick off in Minneapolis between Minnesota and Buffalo. And also in Houston between Houston and Stephen F. Austin. A couple of score updates for you. But wow, how did we see some trickery in this one? And all the momentum right now is on South Florida's side, as they have a 10-point lead over the number 25 ranked Boise State Broncos and 8:18 to play in the third quarter. Win play resumes. As we are just about set to resume action following the timeout. And again, I'm sorry, these commercial breaks in college football have gotten to be way too long. But now we're finally set to resume action and get to the kickoff. One that threw that touchdown pass, Hewlett, he is one of the backup quarterbacks on this South Florida team. He's a freshman out of St. Augustine. And wow, was that pass right on the dot. So here we go. And here's the kickoff. And this will be another touchback. So Boise State will get the ball from the 25-yard line, now in a 10-point hole. 17-7. As Maddox Madsen comes back out. Will Boise State have an answer? South Florida scored 17 unanswered points. And Boise State starts this drive at the 25-yard line. Madsen fakes the handoff. Now we'll throw it downfield to an open man. That's caught by Ben Ford, his third catch of the night, and that's good for 13 and a Boise State first down. Actually, they're going to spot him out of bounds at the 34-yard line, so they're going to give him a 9-yard pickup, saying he was a yard short. Second and a yard. Madsen gives it off, and a first down run for Boise State. That's Dylan Riley getting the carry there for 2 yards and a first down. Boise State has been held to 57 yards rushing tonight. They do have a first down here at the 35. Madsen fakes the handoff. Rolls out. That pass batted down, incomplete. That was Jalen Schuler batting down the ball on that pass for South Florida. 2nd down and 10. Matson back in the shotgun again. Matson with time. Now will run it himself. Matson gets up to the 40-yard line. So Matson on the quarterback keep picks up 5 there. And it'll bring up 3rd down and manageable. 3rd and 5 for Boise State. Third down and 5. A big 3rd down and 5 here for Boise. Ball at the 40-yard line. Madsen rolling to his right, throws, pass caught, but that's going to be short of the 1st down. The pass was caught by Ben Ford. He slipped at the 43, and it's going to be 4th down and 2 coming up. Well, you're down 10, 6 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. Do you roll the dice here if you're Boise State? Like for now, the offense is staying out on the field. It's going to be about 1.5 yards they need for a 1st down. They did convert a prior 4th down back in the 1st half. They do snap it. Madsen with time, now looking, getting the 1st down himself and more. Inside the 50, Madsen doing it with his feet there on 4th and 1.5 yards. He picks up 9. There was absolutely nothing downfield, and Madsen found a little hole that South Florida gave him, and he takes advantage and gets the ball up to the South Florida 46-yard line. So Boise State now 2 for 2 on 4th down conversions tonight. Madsen on 1st down. Again fakes the handoff. Again looking downfield. Now we'll pass it off to Gaines. And Gaines will get up to the 41-yard line. Gain of about 7 on 1st down. As we have ticked under 5 minutes to go in quarter number 3. Fourth reception on the night for Gaines. We do have a player shaken up on the field as play is stopped with 4:52 to go in the 3rd quarter. Looks like a cramp. We're going to see quite a bit of those these first couple 2-3 weeks of the season. Did not see who exactly it was. So we have a stoppage of play with the player shaken up here with 4:52 left in the 3rd. Boise State on the drive here as they've gotten the ball into South Florida territory. Down by 10. See if Boise State can finish off the drive here. It's been a good answer for Boise State after that South Florida fake punt touchdown. And all the momentum right now is on South Florida's side. The Boise State trying to score and make this a 1-score game once again. They have just kicked off in Minneapolis, or getting ready to, between Minnesota and Buffalo. Again, that Nebraska-Cincinnati game, that's looking like a pretty good game. That kicks off in about an hour in Kansas City. Other games set to kick off in about an hour. Wisconsin hosting Miami of Ohio. And then in 2 hours from now, a kickoff out in San Diego between San Diego State and Stony Brook. Couple good games on the schedule tomorrow. Auburn and Baylor down in Waco, and Georgia Tech and Colorado. We'll see how Colorado does without the Sanders boys who graduated last year. We will see what kind of a team Dion can put together without the two Sanders kids. As we are just about set to resume following the banged up player. This Boise State's going to have a 2nd and 4 from the 42-yard line of South Florida. The 4:52 mark of the third quarter, with the Bulls leading this game 17-7. Banged up player for South Florida. Good to see him walking under his own powers. Devin Lee, the transfer from Vanderbilt. So here we go. 2nd down from the 42-yard line. Madsen out of the gun once again. Madsen looking. Madsen again will take it himself. 1st down and more inside the 35. Madsen up to the 31-yard line. Madsen doing it with his legs once again and an 11-yard pickup. That's now 21 yards rushing for Madsen on the night. And the quick snap and a whistle. Maybe too quick of a snap. South Florida, right before the snap, takes timeout. So that'll be their first timeout of the second half. A couple of the Boise State offensive players were thinking that timeout came a little bit too late. They thought the ball had already been snapped, but the timeout was granted. And that will leave them with 2 for the remainder of the second half. Also, in addition to that, Texas, Ohio State, LSU, Clemson, and Notre Dame, Miami games, those 3 top 10 matchups, we have a second game on Sunday. Texas, Ohio State, and LSU, Clemson are Saturday. That Notre Dame, Miami game is on Sunday. But we do have what also looks like a pretty good one, Virginia Tech and South Carolina, Saturday afternoon. So a very good week 1 slate, one of the better week 1 slates we've had in a few years. Following the timeout here, Boise State at the 31 of South Florida, 1st down. Madsen will hand it off to Sherrod. Sherrod hit in the backfield and dropped for a 1-yard loss. Sherrod has got nothing going on the running game tonight. That's his 9th carry, just 15 yards. As we have ticked under 4 minutes to play in the third. Second down and 11. Boise State at the South Florida 32. Madsen again hands it off. And this time Sherrod gets a good run up the middle, and he will pick up 9 this time. Best run of the night for Malik Sherrod, and it'll bring up 3rd down and 2. The Sherrod will head to the sideline. And this will be the 11th play of the drive coming up, and it's consumed now a little bit over 5 minutes. Third down and 2. Boise State from the 23 of South Florida. Madsen looking, throws, pass is incomplete. Intended receiver on that was Matt Wagner. It looked like he had it initially, but couldn't complete the process of the catch. And it will be 4th down and 2. And Boise State again keeping the offense out there. They're 2 for 2 on 4th downs tonight. Will need another conversion here of 2 yards. Madsen looking, throws, incomplete. Out of the reach of Gaines and to the sideline, and Boise State turns it over on downs. So a nearly 6-minute long drive ends in no points for Boise State. Looked like Madsen had to rush that throw a little bit and overshot Gaines. And South Florida is going to take over. First down for South Florida following the turnover on downs at the 23-yard line. Brown will keep it himself once again and get limited as a slew of Boise State players in for the tackle. Gain of a yard for Brown. Gives Brown 26 yards rushing on 13 carries. And the quick snap, Brown to his receiver, incomplete. Intended for Singleton. We do have a flag on the play. We'll see what this is. And it's going to be pass interference on Boise State. So that will give South Florida a first down. Guilty party on the pass interference was Jake Ripp. So a fresh set of downs for South Florida from the 30-yard line. Brown fakes the handoff. Brown going deep. Has a man down there. It's caught inside the 20-yard line. Reception by Nimrod once again. And once again, South Florida in the red zone. Pass for 55 yards from Brown to Nimrod, and now Brown keeps it. Brown to the 10, to the 5. Dives. Touchdown. Brown, a 15-yard touchdown run, his second touchdown run tonight. And South Florida's starting to pull away in this one from Boise State. Well, the prior play was a 55-yard pass to Nimrod, and then Brown finishes himself with a 15-yard touchdown run, his second of the night, and it's 23-7 South Florida. So a 3-play drive that goes 77 yards. It took all of 1 minute, 3 seconds. Grammatica will add the extra point, and South Florida has taken a 24-7 lead over the number 25 Broncos of Boise State. Nimrod now 3 catches on the night for 96 yards. That's 32 yards of reception. And then Brown doing it with his legs again. And this has all led to 24 unanswered points for South Florida and a 24-7 lead over Boise State. So now Boise State in a 3-score deficit with under 2 minutes to play in the third quarter. We do have a South Florida player shaken up here. Can't tell who that is. Might be, well, I don't want to say until I'm sure what the number is. But nonetheless, 24-7. South Florida taking it to Boise State. And what do you do here if you're Boise State? As ever since the second quarter on, all the momentum has been with South Florida. As I mentioned, the tune of 24 unanswered points in this game. It's getting tight again between Rutgers and Ohio. It's 31-24. Rutgers leading Ohio. The injured player back up and walk into the sideline. Good to see there. We're just about to get set to kick things off after the touchdown. As Boise State now needing 3 scores in the final 16:44 this one. Here's the kickoff. And again, it's going to be a touchback. Boise State will get the ball at the 25-yard line. So what do you do if you're Maddox Madsen and the Boise State offense? They've now been outgained on the night, 268-228. First down, Boise State from the 25. Madsen looking, pass is caught. This will be a first down for Boise State, and the reception for Latrell Caples, and he's up to the 40-yard line. 15-yard pickup for Caples and a first down for Boise State. Madsen with the handoff this time. This is Gaines, and Gaines will pick up 4 up to the 44-yard line as we tick down to the final minute of the third. Second down, Broncos. Madsen looking down the field, has a man. It's caught. Now it's incomplete. Caples with the reception. His helmet came off, and now he's slow getting up. Well, Caples got popped there. That helmet just flew right off once he got hit. That was Mac Harris delivering the hit there to Caples. And Caples is still a little slow. And now good to see him getting up. He took a pretty good pop there. So the incomplete pass makes it 3rd down and 8 for Boise State. Boise State just 4 for 12 tonight on 3rd downs. They need to get to the 50-yard line for a first. Madsen's pass incomplete. It was a little behind Lauder, and it will be 4th down. And the Broncos are going to have to punt it away. Even if Lauder catches that, he's a good 4 or 5 yards shy of a first down. And now they call the punt team back and bring the offense back out. Down by 17 points here. 4th down and 8. And now a timeout. Punt team was out there originally, then the offense came back out, and it looked like they were still a little bit unsure what they were going to do, and Boise State has to burn a timeout. So it will be 4th down and 8 following the timeout, as both teams have used a timeout now here in the second half. Well, I know you're on your own side of the field, but you're down 17 points here late in the 3rd quarter. This might be a choice where you are almost forced to have to go for it, and the offense is coming back out after the timeout. Fourth down, and Boise needs 8. Madsen. Pass is incomplete. And another turnover on downs. We'll give it back to South Florida. Deshaun Rucker knocked that ball away for South Florida, and they will get it back. And the South Florida defense rises to the challenge once again. And now with 35 seconds to go in the 3rd, they're looking to deliver what could be a knockout punch. Here's a handoff on 1st down and a gain of 3 yards up to the 40-yard line. That's Cartavius Norton, the ball carrier. And South Florida will not have to snap this ball again before the end of the 3rd quarter if they don't want to. As we're down to 15 seconds and counting. And South Florida doesn't look like they're in any hurry to snap this ball, and they're going to let the 3rd quarter expire. 1 more quarter to go. South Florida 15 minutes away from an opening week upset over the number 25 Boise State Broncos. It's 24-7 South Florida after 3. And when play resumes, South Florida will have a 2nd down and 7. When the 4th quarter gets underway. Couple of college football updates. East Carolina has gotten on the board against NC State. NC State now leads that game 17-7. 2:12 to go. First half of play there. It is still Rutgers getting a battle from the Ohio Bobcats. It's still 31-24. Rutgers leading over Ohio. And Ohio has the football midway point of the 3rd quarter. Missouri 9-0 over Central Arkansas. That game 10 minutes to go, 2nd quarter. Duke has put up a field goal against Elon. Duke leads that game 3-0. Oklahoma State a 14-7 lead over UT Martin. That game just underway in the second quarter. But here let's take a look at some of these stats through 3 quarters. In this game, South Florida up to 271 yards of offense. Boise State at 246. Boise State had those 2 fumbles lost in the first half. Boise State quarterback Maddox Madsen, 19 out of 34, 156 yards, and a touchdown. Byron Brown at the other end, 12 of 19, passing 178. And he's also rushed 13 times for 40 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns for the quarterback, Byron Brown. But all this leads to a 24-7 lead for South Florida as we are just about set to get the final 15 minutes underway. This would be a huge, huge season opening win for South Florida, considering this is the first of 3 consecutive ranked opponents they will play to open the season. So 15 minutes to go. South Florida is going to have a 2nd and 7 at the 40-yard line of Boise State, looking to deliver what you would think would be the knockout punch with 1 more touchdown. So here we go, 4th quarter. Set to commence after this 20-minute long commercial break between the 3rd and 4th quarters. And Ohio has just scored a touchdown, so they are about to tie Rutgers up at 31. So Rutgers getting a battle from the Ohio Bobcats out of the Mid-American Conference. So here we go. 20 minutes later, the 4th quarter begins. Brown, screen pass. And that's going to be a first down. And still on his feet. That reception there by Cartavius Norton. And the ball came out here at the end. And we'll see. The ball came out at the very last second there as Norton was going down. They are still untangling bodies. And it's South Florida has recovered. So Norton got taken. That ball did come out there at the end. And then it was your normal scrum. But South Florida able to fall back on the football. And they've got a new set of downs. From the 16-yard line, first down. Brown. There's a screen pass and a hard tackle. And the tackle made at the 13-yard line. Catch made there by Mudia Rubin, his 2nd reception of the night. Good for a couple of yards. 2nd and 8. Pass to Ruben once again, and Ruben gets up to the 8, maybe the 7-yard line. It'll be third and about 1.5 yards for South Florida. Third and 2. Here's a handoff to Norton, and Norton is in the end zone. Touchdown, South Florida. Cartavius Norton takes it the final distance, 8 yards. And it is now 30-7, South Florida. And now we've got a late flag as well. I think this is going to be against Boise. As you can see, some frustration starting to set in on the Boise State players. But the touchdown run for Cartavius Norton from 8 yards puts 6 more on the board for South Florida. We'll see what this penalty call is. And it is against Boise State, an unsportsmanlike conduct. A Marion McCoy whistled for the penalty, and they just showed the replay. That almost looked like a punch. Extra point by Grammatica is up and good. 31 unanswered points for the South Florida Bulls. And it is now 31-7, South Florida over Boise State. 13:26 to go. As Cartavius Norton gives South Florida their 3rd rushing touchdown of the night. And they have scored the game's last 31 points to, looks like, put this game out of reach with 13:26 to go. So Boise State, this is their largest deficit they have faced in a game in a long, long time. If they're going to make it back to the college football playoff this year, they're not off to a good start. Missouri's added a field goal against Central Arkansas, so Missouri now leads that game 12-0. Elon and Duke, here's a bit of a surprising score midway through the second quarter. Elon and Duke tied at 3. Buffalo, Minnesota still scoreless. 5.5 to go first quarter. Oklahoma State still 14-7 up on UT Martin. Still NC State 17-7 over East Carolina, but East Carolina's got the ball in NC State territory, and still 31-31, Ohio and Rutgers. Rutgers getting a battle from the Ohio Bobcats out of the MAC tonight. And they're going to be kicking off in Kansas City in about 30 minutes, Nebraska and Cincinnati. Also kicking off about 30 minutes in Madison, Wisconsin hosting Miami of Ohio. So here, Boise State just looking for something to build on going forward here, as it has not been a good opener for the Broncos, as they trail this game 31-7 with 13:26 to play. South Florida now has gone over 300 yards of offense tonight. They're at 311. Boise State at 246. So here we go, set to kick off here. as Boise State will just look for something offensively to build on. And here's the kickoff. It's a little squib kick taken at the 20-yard line and brought down at the 25-yard line. So Boise State will start this next drive at their own 25. First down, Broncos at the 25-yard line. Matson on first down over the middle behind his receiver, incomplete. Intended receiver that time was Latrell Caples. And it'll bring up 2nd and 10. Second and 10. Broncos at their own 25. Matson down the field, has a man this time. That's caught across the 40 to the 41-yard line, goes right back to Caples and picks up 16 yards and a first down. 4th reception of the night for Latrell Caples. Matson going in a hurry, and the pass overshot everybody, incomplete. And it'll bring up 2nd and 10. Matson now 20 of 37 for 172 yards. Second and 10, Broncos. Matson looking, has his man. That pass is caught. That is Matt Lauder with his second catch. Gain of 6, and it'll bring up 3rd down. Third down for the Broncos in about 4.5. Needing to get just across midfield for a first down. Pass is going to be caught by Lauder, and they're going to give him a first down right at the marker. Back-to-back catches by Lauder. Moves the ball just across the 50. "12 minutes to go and counting. Boise State first down at the South Florida 48. Low snap. Matson able to get it, and the throw is caught over the middle inside the 20-yard line. Reception made by Cameron Bates. His second catch tonight, and Boise State driving it down into the red zone. Gain of 31 there. Matson, the quick snap. And Matson looking, throwing, incomplete over the head of Latrell Caples. Tried to find him in the end zone. It'll be 2nd and 10. Second down 10, Boise State. Ball at the South Florida 17. Looking to get into the end zone here in the 4th quarter. Matson. Matson looks. Matson throws out of bounds, incomplete. Matson was pressured heavily that time, and it's 3rd down and 10. Matson took a pretty good shot as he comes up a little gimpy. Third and 10. From the 17-yard line. Madsen in trouble. Madsen rolling to his left. Madsen will now run it and get tackled down at the 12-yard line. Gain of about 5, but here comes another 4th down for Boise State. They need 5. From the 12-yard line, Boise State tonight 2 for 4 on 4th down conversions. Madsen down to 3 on the play clock. Madsen, they do get the snap off. Madsen dropped the ball, and South Florida is going to recover. Madsen, that was just simply a case of he just dropped the ball. He was going back to pass. And it's going to be another turnover on downs. That's actually going to go as a fumble and the 3rd turnover of the night for Boise State. That's simply a case of it just fell out of his hands. That's the kind of night it's been for Boise State tonight. 10:34 remaining. South Florida will take over. And probably going to do a lot of running as you figure they're going to start working on the clock. With this game now well in hand for the Bulls. Couple of score updates. They've gone to the half in Raleigh. NC State leading East Carolina 17-7. They are headed to the 4th in Piscataway, New Jersey. Ohio and Rutgers are still 31-31. Missouri now starting to pull away from Central Arkansas 19-0 now. Duke's gotten in the end zone. They've grabbed a 10-3 lead on Elon. Oklahoma State still leading only by 7 over UT Martin, 14-7. Houston's gotten in the end zone against Stephen F. Austin. Houston leads that game 7-0. Nearly the end of the first quarter in Minneapolis, Buffalo and Minnesota still no score. Some updated scores updates for you around college football. And again, if you missed the news at the beginning of the live stream, and if you have not heard the news, breaking news that broke from the NFL just before I signed on the live stream, it was about 5 o'clock Eastern time when this broke. The Dallas Cowboys traded Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. And Parsons signed a 4-year, $188 million contract with the Packers. That is the highest contract for a non-QB in NFL history, the highest non-quarterback contract in history. So Micah Parsons, you're going to see him in a Green Bay Packers jersey for the foreseeable future. And Green Bay visits Dallas, I want to say week 4 this year. So that should be an interesting homecoming, if you will, for Micah Parsons in Dallas. So we are just about set to resume play here. Following the 3rd turnover of the night on Boise State. South Florida will have the football, 1st down and 10, with 10:34 to go. Brown back in the shotgun. And he will hand off here. And this is going to be a considerable run on first down. Sam Franklin getting the carry there for South Florida as he picks up 5 yards on first down. And South Florida going to be very patient now. They usually go with the hurry-up offense, but with a comfortable 24-point lead and 10 minutes to go, no reason to rush anything at this point. Second and 5. Screen pass. That's going to go nowhere. And it'll be 3rd down and 5 for South Florida. That pass was to Joshua Porter. 3rd down and 5 coming up. Third down and 5 for the Bulls. Ball at their own 30. Brown will keep it himself, and now will throw it up and incomplete. Intended for Franklin. It looked like Brown was going to take it himself, but decided to pass it at the last minute to Franklin, but incomplete. And South Florida is going to have to punt it away with 9:10 to go. Chase Leon on to punt for South Florida. A short kick this time, and it will be downed at the 38-yard line, and that is where Boise State will start their next drive. So South Florida, as mentioned earlier, the first of 3 consecutive ranked opponents to open the season. Looks like they're going to pass this first test. And now trips to Florida and Miami upcoming after this one. First down, Broncos at their own 38 with exactly 9 minutes to go. Madsen throws, pass caught up to the 45-yard line. That's a 5-yard pickup on first down. That's now the 10th different receiver to catch a pass, and quick snap, and Madsen's going to be not sacked as he is able to get the up and still going. He's going to get the first down out of this. From what looked like it was going to be a sack to a first down run. That last catch was Chase Penry with the reception. That's now the mentioned 10th different receiver to catch a pass tonight for Boise State. First down, Broncos. Madsen runs it himself again. He's going to have another first down. Slides down at the 35-yard line. 16-yard pickup. And the Broncos move the chains again as we've ticked under 8 minutes to go. Madsen looking. Madsen throws. Caught. That's Lauder with the reception. His 4th catch of the night. Catch for Lauder goes for 4. It'll be 2nd down and 6. Second down and 6. Madsen throws too high, incomplete. Intended receiver that time was Ben Ford, and it'll be 3rd down and 6. As the clock stops with 7:15 to go. 3rd down and 6. And a timeout is called. Timeout's called by South Florida. That's their second of the half before this 3rd down and 6 play. Rutgers able to get a field goal on this drive, so they've retaken the lead over Ohio, 34-31. 11 minutes to go in that one. Elon has tied up Duke at 10, nearing the 2-minute timeout in the first half in that one. End of one in Minneapolis, Buffalo and Minnesota, 0-0. Up some updated college football scores for you. Again, want to update you on my upcoming live stream schedule. We'll be with you for 2 college football games on Saturday. Assuming YouTube TV doesn't drop Fox by Saturday, it's going to be with you at noon for the Texas-Ohio State big matchup there. And then I'll be with you later on that evening for an FCS matchup, a top 15 matchup in the FCS, Sacramento State and South Dakota State. And then we'll be with you as well on Sunday for Notre Dame and Miami. And then we'll wrap up the live stream schedule for you Monday night, TCU and North Carolina. And then we'll also be on with you for some baseball next week as well. Plan on being with you Tuesday night for a Major League Baseball live stream, the Yankees and the Astros. That has playoff implications. And then we'll be with you next Thursday evening for the NFL kickoff between the Eagles and the Cowboys. So we'll be with you for a lot of live streams coming up this next week. So set to resume following the timeout here, as Boise State trying desperately to get this in the end zone one more time. South Florida has scored. Boise State jumped out 7-0, but South Florida has scored the game's last 31 points. As Boise State's looking for a return trip to the college football playoff, but it's not off to a good start. Could South Florida be a team that makes some noise to be that group of 5 team that makes the college football playoff? If they continue to play the way they did tonight, they could be a factor in that. 3rd and 6 for the Broncos. This is a handoff, and this is going to be short of the first down, as Sherrod got the carry, and it's going to be another 4th down for Boise State. 4th down and 3. Jalen Schuler made that tackle for South Florida. That's his 14th tackle of the night. 4th and 3 for Boise State. From the 30, they need to get to the 27 for a first. Madsen's throw incomplete. Tried to find Gaines, but right when Gaines was going to catch it, he was hit, and another turnover on downs for Boise State. And South Florida is going to try and run out as much of this remaining 6:34 as they can. Boise State now 2 for 6 on 4th down conversions tonight. What a gritty, phenomenal defensive performance by the South Florida Bulls tonight. Yes, Boise State has 328 yards of offense, but boy, has the South Florida defense come up with some huge stops when they've needed to. And South Florida will take over at their own 30. And Brown will give this off, and a big hole, and a big run here. And a shoestring tackle made from behind. And inside the 25-yard line. That was the first carry of the night. That was Isaac that got the carry for South Florida. Is good for 54 yards. Alvin Isaac. And now it's a keeper for Brown. He'll slide down inside the 20 to the 17. That was a 49-yard run for Alvin Isaac. Clock continuing to run as we approach 5 minutes remaining. Brown has thrown for 210 yards tonight, has rushed for 43. 2nd and 7. Handoff again. This is Isaac again, and Isaac is inside the 15 to the 13, and it will bring up 3rd down and 3 for South Florida. Third down for South Florida. They're being very patient on the offensive end now. Milking down this clock. 3rd and 3. Handoff, and he's not going to get there. And it will bring up 4th down. That was Cartavius Norton that got the carry that time. So now on 4th down and 3, see what South Florida elects to do. Probably just going to keep the offense out there, I would think. And they do. Fourth and 3 from the 14. And they're just going to take the play clock all the way down here and use their final timeout with 3:34 to go. .334 remaining. South Florida is now out of timeouts, but at this stage of the game, it's not going to really matter. With a comfortable lead. .372 total yards for South Florida. Boise State at 328. But some big defensive plays and 3 turnovers on the night for Boise State as well have not helped their cause. South Florida has not turned the ball over at all. And now they're going to bring Grammatica on for a field goal from 33 yards out. And Grammatica's kick up, and it is good. And South Florida adds 3 more and makes it a 34-7 ball game with 3:29 to play. So Grammatica 2 for 2 on the night on field goals. With the Grammatica family. Anybody that's been around a while that's watched football remembers Martin Grammatica, longtime kicker in the NFL, and also has the longest field goal in FBS history. That was a 65-yarder. Finally have a score in Minneapolis as Minnesota has gotten in the end zone. They lead 7-0 over Buffalo. Rutgers still leading 34-31, a close game against Ohio University. So here's the kickoff. And that will be another touchback. Boise State will get it at the 25 with 3:29 to go. So we will see Boise State on offense for what is probably going to be the final time tonight. And Madsen is getting the rest of the evening off. And we are seeing a new quarterback for Boise State into the game. This is Max Cutforth. And a timeout called by Boise State just before this first down play. So final numbers tonight for Maddox Madsen, 25 of 46, 225 yards, and 1 touchdown pass. He also rushed 11 times for 31 yards. But not the opener him or the Boise State Broncos were hoping for, as they have ran into a buzzsaw here tonight in South Florida. South Florida, very, very, very impressive tonight. Following the timeout, first down for the Broncos. And here's a handoff on first down and a gain of about 4. That's Dylan Riley getting the first down carry. So Max Cutforth getting into the game for Boise State at quarterback. Redshirt sophomore out of Idaho. Second down and 6. Ball at the 29. And Cutforth another handoff to Riley. Riley's going to go nowhere on second down. The South Florida defense still coming. And they held Riley to no gain there, and it'll be third down and 6. No let up from the South Florida defense. $2:15 and counting left in this one. Third down 7 for the Broncos. Cutforth going to throw his first pass. And it's down the field, and it is caught for a first down. Quentin Brown with the reception and a first down for the Broncos as we have hit the 2-minute timeout. 2 minutes to play in this one. It is all South Florida, 34-7 over Boise State with 2 minutes to go. Missouri now up 26-0 in that game over Central Arkansas, approaching halftime. Houston a 10-0 lead over Stephen F. Austin. And they are just about to kick off in Kansas City between Nebraska and Cincinnati, and also just about ready to kick off in Madison between Wisconsin and Miami of Ohio. That Ohio-Rutgers game still 34-31. 6.5 to go in the fourth quarter. So no matter what happens in that game, Rutgers got a very, very game Ohio Bobcats team out of the Mid-American Conference tonight. NC State still leading East Carolina 17-7. They've gotten underway in the second half in that one. And we have 2 minutes remaining in this one. A 34-7 South Florida lead over Boise State. As Boise State got the first 7 points of this game, but it's been 34 unanswered points for South Florida since that point. And even though Boise State has 350 yards of offense, the South Florida defense has done an excellent job of shutting down Boise State as they have forced 3 turnovers. And an excellent defensive effort tonight. South Florida is going to need a couple of those as well coming up in these next 2 weeks when they travel to Florida and to Miami. But the first of 3 consecutive games against ranked opponents is going to be mission accomplished, as they're 2 minutes away from getting the win in this one. When play resumes, the Broncos will have a first down and 10 at their own 47. So as we resume here following the 2-minute timeout. Boy, this game was still in doubt, but then that fake punt that ended up going for a touchdown just seemed to just totally take the wind out of Boise State's sails at that point. You can point to that play. That's really when the tide officially turned. 2 minutes to go. First down, rather, for the Broncos. Here's a handoff. This is Riley, and Riley will pick up about 3 yards. As we are down to the final 100 seconds and counting. Second down and 6 for Boise State. Here's a screen pass, and the pass is caught. This is going to be a first down for Boise State. Inside the 40-yard line. First reception of the night for Demetrius Whitlock Jr. First down in the final minute. Handoff. This is Riley again, and Riley will get up to the 32-yard line. And one more snap should take us to the end of this one. Second down and 5 And the final snap of the game is one more handoff to Riley. He will get a first down inside the 25-yard line. We'll see if Boise State decides to snap it one more time. Probably not at this point. And that is going to do it. What an opening performance for Alex Golesh and the South Florida Bulls as they take down number 25 Boise State 34-7 in Tampa. South Florida's first win against a ranked opponent since 2016, and they do it in emphatic fashion tonight against the Boise State Broncos. 34-7, the final score. Final stats in this one, Boise State ends up with 378 yards of offense. South Florida ends up with 372. But 3 turnovers for the Broncos tonight. And it is a South Florida runaway in this one, 34-7 over Boise State. Before I sign off on the live stream, let's give you one last look at the college football scoreboard. We're at the 2-minute timeout in Piscataway, 34-31. Rutgers still leading Ohio. Fourth quarter, Bowling Green leading Lafayette 23-7. NC State still a 17-7 lead over East Carolina. Still in that weather delay in Orlando between Jacksonville State and UCF. Delaware 21-10 over their state rivals Delaware State. Delaware making their FBS debut tonight. Louisiana Monroe 7-0 over St. Francis. That game's in the first quarter. That game had a weather delay as well. Wyoming 3-0 over Akron midway through the third. Missouri 26-0 at the half over Central Arkansas. Possibly the score and shocker of the day so far in Durham at the half. Duke and Elon are tied 10-10. Oklahoma State 17-7 over UT Martin. That's reached the half. Minnesota 7-0 over Buffalo, second quarter. And also in the second quarter, Houston 10-0 over Stephen F. Austin. Alabama State 14-10 over UAB in the second quarter. And they have just kicked off in Kansas City between Nebraska and Cincinnati. And they've also just kicked off in Madison between Miami of Ohio and Wisconsin. And coming up here in about an hour, San Diego State hosting Stony Brook. Again, my name is John, Sports Bonanza John, my YouTube channel. If you like my content, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe. That would really mean a lot and go a long way. I will be back with you for 2 live streams on Saturday, assuming YouTube TV doesn't pull the plug on Fox before then. I will be with you at noon for Texas and Ohio State. And then we'll be with you later on that evening for an FCS Top 15 matchup between South Dakota State and Sacramento State. That is the live stream schedule coming up on Saturday, with college football streams coming up on Sunday and Monday as well. Thank you for joining me, everybody, tonight. And I will talk to you again for more live stream action on Saturday. Have a great night.